Katie Kempner, and welcome to Perspectives here at the Ipsos Girls Lounge during the Cannes Lion Festival. Right now, I am talking with Kirsten Flanik, who is the Managing Director of BBDO New York.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for stopping by the lovely Girls Lounge.
Yeah, this is...
Sorry about the view.
Yeah, I know, it's really terrible. So, no, thank you. It's really nice to be here.
So, how long have you been coming to Cannes?
This is my fourth year at Cannes. It's all starting to blur together a little bit. I was telling somebody last night I'm in the exact same room here at the Martinez that I was in last year, and it kind of starts to feel like you just never left.
Right.
Like this is just one big Cannes. So, but actually 4 years.
Well, we were talking right before we started shooting, and you mentioned that you have to leave early this year for your son's graduation.
I do. My son is graduating from the 5th grade. You know, it was one of those moments where I actually have a big client event on Friday. You know, I had to make the choice. What was I going to do? Was I going to stay for the event, or was I going to go home? And there was really no question in my mind. I had to go home, and I wanted to go home. The good news is, you know, we have a great team, and I think one of the things that that we have to all do in this business to be successful and to be able to do all the things that we want to do, but also the things that we need to do, is we always have to have a really strong team. And they will cover on Friday, and I will go home for my son's 5th grade graduation.
Well, I mean, obviously you're making the exact right choice.
Yes.
And one of the things that I speak with a lot of women about, working moms especially, and something that I deal with all the time myself, is making these kinds of choices. What do you advise to people that are working for you that may not be in the same level as you? Are they able to say, I have another obligation too, or how can they approach that?
Well, I actually think it starts with us. Mm-hmm. And I think as leaders, it's about the type of environment that we create. And so if we want women to be successful in our business, and most importantly, if we want women to stay in our business, we have to create the kind of environment where women feel like they're going to have that freedom, mm-hmm. that they can make those choices and be confident in those choices. And ultimately, where they feel that they don't have to opt out at some point because they work within an environment where they don't have that freedom to make those kind of choices. So I really try to just create the kind of environment where people feel that they do have that kind of freedom, mm-hmm. to create their own story and create their own success. And that, you know, that I have the kind of open door policy where people can come in and say to me, I have this important event, or I need to go, or really where they don't even feel like they have to tell me. Mm-hmm. Where as long as, you know, they're doing their job and they're doing it well, that they can go and do the things that they need to do. What I would say to other women is just be really confident in your choices. Because I think the minute you start to waver, or the minute you start to second guess, then people are going to second guess you.
Yeah.
But if you're really confident in that, I have to go do this, I need to go do this, this is important to me, then I think people will respect you and respect your choices.
I love what you just said about creating your own story, women creating their own story. Could you elaborate a little bit about that?
Well, I think that, I think one of the things that is just really important about, you know, career development, about becoming a leader, is that you stay very true to yourself and that you do it your way. And I think when I've seen people be the most successful, create the best work, have the most fame in this business, is when they do it their way. Mm-hmm. And I think for a long time in maybe corporate America, or maybe even other industries, there's like a certain framework in which you have to conform. And I love that in our industry, and especially at BBDO, that I think there's a lot of freedom within the framework, and there's almost this entrepreneurial spirit. And I think that allows you to then create your own story. And I almost like that word better than success, mm-hmm. because I think, you know, success is almost like, of course, what we have to do. We have to be successful. We have to make the best work. We have to make sure that we're driving our clients' business. But when you can create your own story, I think it becomes more personal, and it almost becomes more motivating, and it feels more worth it. Yeah. Because it's about what you're doing, but it's also about the people, and it's also about yourself.
And when you talk about success in terms of yourself, it's not necessarily making the most money or having the most power, but it's figuring out a way, I think, you tell me if you agree, mm-hmm. to sort of balance everything together.
I completely agree. And it's about really ultimately being happy. Yeah. Because what we do isn't easy. It really isn't. I know it looks fun and we're at a beautiful setting and this is awesome.
Hard.
But it isn't easy.
Very hard.
And it's trying, and it can be a 24/7 job if
Yeah.
you let it. And we are in an always-on world now. So I think if you can just continue to really, and I know this is going to sound cliche, but love what you do in this crazy world, and in this crazy environment that we're doing it all in, then I think you'll be more balanced.
You said something I just want to go back to about being in a 24/7 world, because and it is true. You have more, in a way, luxury in terms of being different places, but at the same time you're really always bound to your iPhone. I mean, you're always supposed to be checking in. You said you try to make an environment that's very friendly to people. How are you able to balance those two together, of the 24/7 world and also having to always be on, but also have a life?
I think that the smartphone and technology is the greatest gift that's been given to us. It has given us the gift of freedom. You just have to make sure that you know how to manage it. And I think one of the things that is so fantastic about it is that if you have to work from home on Friday, or if you have to be somewhere on a Thursday, you can be accessible. Now, you can't be glued to it, but what you can do is you can say, thanks for this, I got your note, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Because really, our clients just want to know that we're on it.
Right.
And I think that if we can just let them know that we're on top of their business, then they're appreciative and they know that we're there for them. We can also just make sure that we have a team that's accessible if we're in a moment where we can't be, and we can forward that to somebody and say, hey, can you please handle this for me? So I think there's ways to manage it. You just have to make sure that you know how to get in and out really quickly versus staying glued to it the whole time.
So do you think the fact that you're a woman has impacted your career?
What I hope is that I'm setting an example for other women within BBDO in the industry that you can do this, that you can do this thing that's called, being a leader, and also being a mom, and being involved in the community, and being involved in sitting on boards, and being involved with charities, that it can be done. And, I think the thing that I find the most rewarding is when a woman comes up to me at BBDO and says, I just want to thank you. I'm inspired by what you're doing. By watching you, I now know that I can do it too. And so I think that it might not have affected me, but I like to think that maybe it's affecting others.
Yeah.
And that, we're continuing to create this environment at BBDO and in the industry where women don't feel that they have to opt out because it's too hard and it's too tough. And I think if we can do that, we're going to all end up setting the goals that we want for women in this industry.
Because if women opt out, then we're missing in business a significant, a type of thinking that we really need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think, you don't want any company that is just led by men. You don't want a company that's just led by women. You want a company that's got an equal mix of both, because we all bring different perspectives. That's why diversity is so important. We need different points of views. We need people coming up with different kinds of ideas. And if everybody looks exactly alike and sounds exactly alike and walks exactly alike, we're not going to get that different kind of thinking. And it's not just good, for us. I mean, it's so important for our businesses.
What advice would you give to a woman who is somewhere in her career, maybe has small children, who doesn't, or thinking of having kids, who doesn't want to opt out but doesn't really know, how she can make it work?
Well, first of all, I would just talk to people. I would find women who have done it ahead of you, and I would go and I would talk to them and I would get advice. But I would also, everything I think comes down to confidence, and you just have to be confident. Be confident that you're good at what you do, be confident that you know it's what you want to do, and then be confident in your choices. And don't waver in your choices. With success comes sacrifice. There is sacrifice with everything that we have to do. Decide which sacrifices you can live with, which things you're okay with, and then leave the guilt at the door. For those sacrifices that you can't live with, put a line in the sand and don't do them. And just be really confident in both. And then I think you'll be okay.
That is great advice. And then just building on that, is there one piece of advice that has helped you throughout your career?
I actually heard Carolyn Everson say, who quoted Wendy Clark, that it's about work-life integration. And I remember hearing that a couple of years ago, and it coming at a time when everybody was talking about balance. And I don't think there is any such, I really don't think there is a such thing as balance. I think it is about finding a way to work it all in seamlessly, and and making it work for you. Kind of as you're creating your own story and your own success, making it work for you. But the best advice that I was probably ever given was leave the guilt at the door. And it actually came from a teacher. It came from my daughter's preschool teacher. And I had 2 children back to back. So I had a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old at the time. I was leaving for a 2-week trip, and it was a trip that I had to go on. I was talking to her about it, and she could tell that I was really nervous and had a lot of anxiety. And she said, you know what? Go on the trip. You're going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine, and you're going to come back, and you're going to realize that nobody skipped a beat.
Yeah.
And she said, leave the guilt at the door and go do your job, and your kids will respect you more for it. And so I was a preschool teacher, and it was the right advice.
It sounds like right advice. It was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It was great talking to you.